Hi, I'm Emily Rocky with Tanks Green Stuff, and I'm here with Brandon Merchant from Southwest Victory Gardens.
Hello.
I called you, Brandon, because I have a project. I wanted to build a raised bed in my greenhouse, and who better to call than Brandon, because he does this for his professional his job. So, can you tell us a little about Southwest Victory Gardens?
Yes, we Southwest Victory Gardens. We help folks all over Tucson and Southern Arizona start backyard vegetable gardens. We do that by helping them with projects like this, installing raised beds. We help them refurbish old raised beds. Build up new soils. We also do a lot of consulting. Meeting with folks, checking out their gardens and helping them, improve them a little bit, including, native landscape to attract
Oh,
pollinators and things like that. And then, you know, it just, whatever folks need, as far as vegetable gardens, we're there to, help them out as best as possible. We do workshops at the public libraries and the community food
and
bank.
they're free, right?
Most of the time, yeah, actually, they're all free. I haven't
Awesome.
done any paid classes. If I do them all over Tucson, so if you live on the east side, on Oro Valley or Green Valley, I'm usually doing classes, once a month on all different parts of town. So
That's great.
if you visit my website, southwestvictorygardens.com, you can see my events page, and all of my classes are there, and see when the next one's coming up.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to teach?
I like teaching the soil classes because so much of what makes a healthy garden and a vegetable garden really successful starts with high quality soil.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know a lot about that. So those are my favorite classes to teach because it's really the foundation of organic gardening. And if there's just one thing that people could do is improve their soil, it'll make so much of their gardening,
Absolutely.
the rest of it, just so much easier. So.
I totally agree. I mean, obviously, I love soil too. We love good quality compost, organic compost, which you use a good deal of, right?
Yes, most certainly. I've in the past 5 years, I've moved hundreds of cubic feet, if not thousands of cubic feet of Tank's Green Stuff compost. Tank's Green Stuff compost is the main ingredient in all of our soil mixes. We don't use any native soil in any of our raised beds. We use strictly locally sourced, 100% organic ingredients, starting with Tank's Green Stuff compost. And then we add to that some coconut coir from Pro Coco, which is a local company here in town, and then a couple mineral products, vermiculite and such, which is sourced from Thermo Rock and Chandler.
Yeah.
So it's really cool because all of those ingredients are locally sourced and they're all certified organic. And all of my clients that I've installed this for have just had a really great success with it. So it's really cool to have a new gardener, just have their first season gardening, and then you go and you visit, and they just have this like Jurassic Park jungle garden growing, and you're like, whoa. And it's not because of anything really they did. It's just because the soil is just so
Exactly.
good, and it starts people off with like the best possible.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you really help people to remember that it's not that they have a black thumb.
right.
It's that they just didn't have good soil. I tell people that all the time.
Exactly right.
So
And we try to make it as easy as possible so that people can just go out and, enjoy their garden. Whether that's, smelling the flowers or taking in the bees or actually going out and harvesting food for dinner. That's what we want to be doing in the garden. We don't want to be, spraying for stuff or trying to figure out like why our plants are sick all the time. So I try to make it as easy as possible, and
yeah,
starting with that really good, potting mix
yeah,
is one way to do that. So.
yeah. Well, and today we're gonna do a raised bed garden because I
That's
want to
right.
grow vegetables. I
Right.
want to grow tasty things that I can eat and share with friends and family. And I have some boards that we're gonna put together, some wood. And can you tell me like what you recommend for depth and like generally like what's the construction of a raised bed?
Yeah, well, the cool thing about working with wood is that you can find it. It's readily available. I'm really excited to be working with some repurposed wood today. I don't always get to work with that, so this is going to be a real fun project. But if you can find any kind of lumber that's not been treated with any kind of chemicals, you can use that to make a raised bed. And then you can make a raised bed really of any size, whatever size you have, whether it's a small backyard patio or if you have a really large backyard, you can build, you know, several different sizes. I really tell folks to kind of start small. A 3 foot by 3 foot or a 4 by 4 foot is a really kind of good starter size. And then, you know, you can go all upwards to, you know, 4 foot by 8 foot. And I've even installed some fairly large 4 foot by 12 foot beds, but those are, you know, a fewer and far between. So today we're going to be putting in, you know, more of, it'll be about a 2.5 by 6 feet or so, which is a great size. You know, you'll be able to grow tons and tons of food in a bed of that size.
Yeah.
And you know, I hate going back to the soil, but when you start with that really dense, you know, high nutrient soil, you can really pack in a lot of vegetables in there, and that way they're not depleting nutrients out of the soil all the time. So it's a really great way to grow a lot of vegetables in a small space. So
Perfect.
raised beds are really good for that.
Yeah, and when we have really rocky soil or, you know, just difficult to dig, then raised beds are the way to go, right?
Right.
So how deep do they need to
Oh
be?
yeah, of course. So I recommend, if you can, to start off with about 18 inches.
Okay.
You know, anywhere between 15 and 18 is a good place to start. So today with these, you know, they're about 12 inches. That's about this is the minimum that I would go.
Yeah.
But if you can go higher, that's even better. But 18 inches is a minimum. And yeah, when you're working with, there's a lot of different, you know, reasons why raised beds would be, you know, a good option. And out here in the foothills, where the soil's really tough, really rocky, and you can't dig down, sometimes it's the only option.
Mm-hmm.
So. And if for some reason, you know, you can't go like 18 inches tall, you can go, you know, say 12 inches tall and then dig down a little bit and only amend that really. So you don't have to like dig down really, really deep, and that'll save your back a little bit.
I was going to ask you if we could do that today, but can you? I treated this wood with tung oil. Can you give me a couple other options for treating wood organically to protect it against the moisture?
Yeah, of course. So treating wood is definitely, you want to have, you know, you want to treat the lumber because, you know, over time with the moisture from the garden and then especially the sun, actually, it can be really deteriorate the wood rapidly. So treating it with a sealer or an oil is going to help extend the life of the raised bed. And you want to be mindful that you're going to be growing food in this thing. So you don't want to be using some crazy like Thompson's, you know, sealer that that you know has all these things in it, you don't know what's in there. So there's a variety of natural plant-based oils that you can find. The two of the most common that I recommend is linseed oil. Linseed oil is made from flaxseed,
Right.
that's pressed, and it's a great wood preservative. You want to make sure, if you're concerned, that you use the raw linseed oil versus the boiled linseed oil. Boiled linseed oil does contain some, you know, chemicals, and so if you're interested in using that, I would encourage you to do some research on it. There's some information online, and some folks use it, some folks don't. So I always tell folks, do a little research on it, and then, you know, decide from there. And then the other oil that I recommend is tung oil. It's another plant-based oil. It comes from a tree, and again, being that it's plant-based, you don't have to worry about any of the you know, funky stuff that's inside, and then it'll actually add a lot of protection to the wood over time. So you can find both of those in specialty paint shops and sometimes at your local hardware store.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to get started.
you too.
And,
Let's get to work.
Let's get going. Thanks. Brandon, we did it.
All right.
Thank you
Good
so
job.
much.
Good work.
I couldn't have done it without you.
I think you could have, but thank you.
It's awesome. Thanks for the recommendations on the soil.
You're very welcome. Thank you for letting me help you. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Southwest Victory Gardens.
Thanks.